So what we're going to do next is we're going to jump into lesson 3. And like I told y'all at the beginning, I will trim out some of the information if I find it redundant, repetitive, or I just don't think it's really a benefit, or even if it's not used in the real world, because that's going to happen a lot in lesson 3, where it's something like that. But we're going to take a look at what's called pages. Let me make sure I get to the very start. So lesson 3 is the first and the only lesson that we have that does not have a start file. Okay. Um, in fact, let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. Doop. All right. So yeah, so if I go to open, I'm going to navigate to my lesson 3 folder. You guys can get to your folder and you'll see that it has an end file and it has a trifold template file. There's no start file. So we're actually going to create our own document from scratch here because honestly, that's something that it's a good idea to be familiar with because you will be creating documents from scratch in the real world. But like I said, most all the lessons are going to start a file for you so that we're focused on something. But since this lesson is about pages, putting multiple pages in a document, that's why it's really important that we start a document from scratch. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and create a new document. Okay. Interesting. What we're going to do first, though, is I'm trying to look at because it's the brand new edition of this book. So I'm looking at how they're setting things up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create what's called a preset. The scenario here is that we make newsletters. And so we want to make sure that we're not constantly creating a brand new document with 8 pages every single time we come to InDesign to create a newsletter. So we're going to create a preset. And what that means is we're going to do all the settings and it's going to save these settings so that we can access them later. Okay. So let's go to the file menu at the top. So go to top left at the file menu. And then there we go. It's towards kind of the bottom ish, bottom middle. It says document presets. Okay. So you'll see it'll have like Adobe PDF presets in the middle. Just go a little bit down past the publish online document. And it says document presets. When you move your mouse there, you're going to notice that it pops out a window and it says define and default. That's all that should be there, unless you actually work in InDesign and have created presets. So we shouldn't have any presets. What we're going to do is we're going to choose the first option to define. We're going to create a preset. So we've gone to the file menu at the top. We've gone to document presets and we're going to choose define. So this is going to open up a little panel there, and you should just have default. On the left hand or right hand side, you'll see OK, you'll see cancel, and then you'll say new or see new. We're going to choose new because we're going to create a new document preset. All right. When we get ready to open a document, this will look real similar what document setup looks like, or if you're opening a brand new document, not as a preset. So this will all look real familiar, but I do want to walk through it real quick with you. So for example, where it says document preset, I told y'all in lesson 2, and I will continue to say this throughout the entire class, please name things according to what they are. So in this case, I don't know what document preset 1 is. If I came behind you and saw that as a preset, I don't know what it is. We're creating a newsletter, so we're going to change that name to newsletter. Mine was booklet, so I had it set up as a booklet when I worked at the insurance broker. That kind of thing. So we always want to name it what it is. So if it's like say it's a billboard you're designing for Warner Brothers Media. You might put Warner Brothers billboard, maybe a size or something. Like you're gonna call it or billboard and put the size of the billboard, something like that, so that when you come in days, months later and see this preset, you know what it is, but just even based on the name. The
Okay.
next, yes, sir.
How do you go to the new document of presets? Or how did you do
So
it?
did you get to the document presets? Were you able to get there, Silas? To that
Um,
panel?
hold on, let me open it back up. I got to the template, but not the preset.
Okay. So what I need you to do is go to the file menu.
Okay.
And then kind of midway down, you'll see Adobe PDF presets. Go down just a little bit further and see document presets.
Oh, I
You see
got you.
it?
Yeah.
Then go to define.
Okay.
Got a panel that pops open. On the right hand side, click on the button new that's in the middle.
Okay, I got you. Thank you.
Yeah. So we're going to call this one newsletter. Okay. All
Yeah.
right, so we got that. Right below is an option called intent. So while my intent is normally world domination and getting rich, they only give us the options for print, web, and mobile. A lot of times, what we're creating is print, even if it's a digital piece that you're creating, that's okay. Um, Print is just a standard one that we choose. You can do a lot with InDesign. It does animations. It will allow you to create that kind of interaction with the person. It does a whole bunch of crazy stuff. A lot of it is not used. That goes into Acrobat and how we look at documents. A lot of corporations, large corporations, will not update to the newest version of something because there may be bugs or vulnerabilities. And also, they have to put in their own security aspects to it because they're networks. So when I worked for Wells Fargo and their insurance division, that's what happened. They took us for 3 days before we had access to the Creative Cloud because security parameters had to be put inside of it since we worked for a banking organization, an international banking organization. So don't be surprised if if you're creating something that's not printed, you can still use that option. It's not a big deal. But for example, the mobile that really has to do with digital publishing, that kind of a platform like Kindle, Apple Reader, stuff like that. Web aspect, you could create a website in here. It's a whole lot of work on the back end to make it work right. So I don't recommend doing it. Don't create business cards in PowerPoint. Please don't create websites in InDesign. But for what we're about to create, even if it was a digital newsletter, we're just going to assume that it's print. Okay. Below that is the number of pages. This is the number of pages that you expect to have in your document. Don't worry if you don't know. Just start out with whatever number you think is comfortable. Um, a lot of times I started with 32 in a booklet just to keep it simple. And I would add or subtract based on my needs. So it's not a big deal. For number of pages, let's go ahead and put 8. Do not hit enter. You can hit tab. Because if you hit enter, it's going to actually save everything you have right now, and you'll have to go back to edit it. Okay. And then right below that says start page. You can actually start the page numbering at a different spot. So it doesn't have to be page one. We are going to leave this alone. I normally have never had to change this. I just don't need to. If I have, it's been once, and I really don't remember the details. So just leave that alone. You'll be fine. The checkbox that's facing pages. I'll actually explain what that is in a moment, but I like to keep it checked. You can uncheck it. It just if you have two pages that would be next to each other in a book, that's what facing pages is. Again, we'll look at it in just a moment. But if you don't want that, it'll actually just stack them as individual pages. When I show you what facing pages are inside the document, I'll explain why there's a benefit to it, but depends on what you're doing. Go ahead and leave that box checked. It's totally fine. I have never checked the primary text frame. It throws a giant text frame that covers almost the entire page. It's stupid. It's a useless tool. I leave it alone. For the paper size or the page size, there's a lot of options here. So there's letter, there's legal, there's tabloid. By the way, tabloid also is known as ledger. It's an 11 by 17, just in case you didn't know. And then they have some half measurements here as well. These are just ones that come naturally with InDesign, and they're like kind of common possible use. Letter is the most common. If you've never seen the A's and the B's, and I think there's actually a C measurement, these are European measurements. They're specific page sizes. In fact, A4 is 9 by 12. I know that. I've known that for years. So I just happen to know that. But these are European. Don't be freaked out if someone tells you, I need something in a B5. If you don't know that measurement, you can actually go online, just look it up. There's so much information with that. There's also a preset size for business cards. They're 3.5 by 2 inches. I know that because I've done them for years. But that's up to you. You can choose this option however you want to build it. I don't know why they still have compact disc in here. By the way, it's 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. It's actually for the insert that goes in the front of a CD case, which nobody uses anymore. I don't even think I own CDs anymore, but it's still there. I only know the measurements because I'm originally from Austin, Texas, and I used to go and see bands, and I knew bands, and I used to make their album art like decades ago. So that's the only reason I know that. With the custom, you don't even have to select this option, but just know that it's there. We're gonna leave this as set as letter. So for the oh man, they do have the picas on this thing. Okay, so where it says width and height, don't freak out. Where it says width and height, if you start to change these numbers, it will immediately switch the page size to custom. So that's why I said you don't have to select it. You can just start making changes. Don't freak out. I don't know if anybody else has it. Mine has it set to what's called picas. So my width is 51p0. If you don't see that and you have inches, fantastic. Ignore what I'm about to say. If you do see this measurement in front of you, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because the book is showing inches and it's supposed to have everything in inches. So this may be Adobe's or whoever the publisher is on this, might be their mistake. Picas are a really, really old measurement used in graphic design. Nobody uses it. In fact, actually, last week we were laughing about it. I brought it up because I was like, yeah, my class is going to make, and I've got to teach them what picas are. And then we all chuckled, except for the guy who didn't know what picas were. So just know that they're a type of measurement nobody uses anymore. What I'm going to do is also show you guys how to change that, but I'm going to show you how to change it inside the inside of a document once we get this thing set up. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. And once you change the measurements, they won't go back to picas. I think this is because I got that massive update from 2024. And I just may not have been paying attention to the settings. So we're just going to leave these alone. It's 8.5 by 11. But if you're ever curious about picas or you run across that somehow randomly, let me know if you need me to remind you. It's not a problem. The book actually does have a section in this lesson that explains it. To the right of that is orientation. So this is portrait versus landscape. If you take a regular piece of paper and set it in front of you, the regular way that we normally read paper, that's called portrait. If you turn it sideways, it's called landscape. Okay. It's just dependent upon how you need things to be set. We're going to leave it at portrait. That's the default for it. Where it says columns, this is not columns of text. I kind of mentioned this earlier. It's actually about measurement. So we're going to talk about that as part of the lesson. For this one, they want us to change that number from 1 to 3. Once we open the document, I'll kind of point it out to you and you'll see the columns. For the gutter, yeah, it says 0.125. Is that right? Okay, so it should be 0.125 inches or 0p9. Just make sure you make that change. So 0.125 inches, or if your screen says picas, it'll be 0p9, which is 0 pica 9. All right. Below that, we have what's called margins. So remember, I said these are the purple and magenta lines that are inside the paper. This is what creates your live space. Normally, as a good rule of thumb, we would set stuff up with a 1/2 inch margin, which means it just moves those lines 1/2 inch inside. It's a good space. It gives you some extra cushion because of a shift on the printer. I know they do the 1/4 inch border around, like I told you before. Commercial printers don't print to edges. So doing a 1/2 inch gives you just a little bit more wiggle room. I just always found, like over the past several years, it's a safe space to be in. So I just usually go ahead and leave that as a 1/2 inch. They do want us to make these changes because you can actually change these individually based on your project. Now, this newsletter is actually going to have some title tabs at the top. So we're going to make adjustments so that the top of the page has a lot of room for us. And then the bottom of the page is going to have a little extra space because we're going to put page numbers there. So we're going to make some changes to this. But first, there's a chain that's inside where it says top, bottom, inside, outside. That's a link. So, or linking these all together. So if you make a change to any of these numbers, it's going to change all of them to be the same. So it links them together. We need to break that link. So we're going to break the chain, just click it once. It'll do the chain links, but there'll be a line, a diagonal line through it. That means you broke that link. So no big deal there. So The first one, now the tab key is your friend, but the first one for the top, this is going to be 1.3125. I'll even type it in the chat for you, okay? So 1.3125 inches. All right. Let me put in my inch sign. Yeah, 1.3125 inches, and then hit tab. Okay. Again, we're purposely making a lot of space there because it's going to have some title tabs up there. For the bottom, it's going to be 0.375, 0.375. Ooh, the inside. When it says inside, because it's doing facing pages, this is where the the binding of the book is. So it's that crease where the pages curl in. All right. So for the inside, they want us to do a half inch. So that's gonna be 1/2 inch. Oops, it's just the eye. All right, so 0.5 inch. Yeah, I thought so. And then the outside, so this is the edges of both sides of the papers. That's going to be a 1/4 inch, so 0.25 inches. Yeah. All right, we're not done yet. So that should give you an idea of being able to change these separately. It just means you're thinking ahead of time. We can always change the margins inside the document once we started. But this again, this is just a good idea of building something before you have to start the project because we're going to be using this newsletter layout all the time. Go ahead and click the arrow next to bleed and slug. That's going to drop down a little menu down here. If you're not familiar with what bleed is, what they do when a printer can't print edge to edge, they actually take the document and they print it bigger and then they trim it to the size. So they actually would probably take an 8.5 by 11 and make it a 9 by 12, and then they just trim off all the extra paper so it's trimmed down to 8.5 by 11, and that's how they make it look like they printed to the edge. A lot of times when you talk to a printer, they'll let you know if you need a bleed based on your project or what your needs are. For this one, I believe they do want us to do a bleed, and it'll help so that we can see what it looks like. For our bleed, we're gonna leave the chain that's on the right hand side. We're gonna leave that alone because we only need to change one of these, it'll change all of them. Okay. So for where it says top, it's going to be 0.125 inches. So 0.125 inches. And then if you hit tab, it's going to fill all of those boxes with that measurement. If you're doing picas, what I'm doing is actually typing in the measurement and then doing the inch symbol and then hitting tab. So it's doing that. You can also look at my screen if you need for the pica measurements. So all the bleed, this is what's going to go outside the document. And once we open the document, I'll show you kind of what everything is. That way you're familiar with it. Everything has a color, which helps identify it. Okay. The slug. I don't think I've ever actually met anyone in my class that knows or has used the slug area. I have. It was once, and that was it. So now I used it at another job because I knew what it was, but at the ad agency, they actually that's how they use the plug-in triple diamond. They put it in the slug area. The slug area is an area that you can put into your document. It's outside the page, and anything you put in the slug area will not print unless you tell it to. It actually takes a few clicks to get to that point. And in fact, actually, when we get ready to export PDFs and stuff at the last day of class, I'll show you. I'll be like, hey, remember we talked about slug on the first day? This is where it's at. So again, you probably never need to know where it is. If you ever run across a job and it comes up and you're like, oh crap, I don't remember. Hey man, let me know. I can re-explain it to you. I'm happy to do that. It's not a problem. I can just tell you that of all the years that I've had jobs, only one of them was using this regularly, and the other one I was using it because I knew how to I knew what a slug was for whatever weird reason. My first job, I just happened to know what that is. So we're gonna leave that one alone. But the bleed is actually a pretty important thing if you need it. Okay. All right, so we got this all set. We named it. It's newsletter. Our intent, because world domination isn't an option, we're going to leave print. We are leaving them facing pages. I want y'all to see what they look like, and I can explain why they're useful. We're doing 8 pages. Remember, if you're doing a booklet of some sort, numbers that are divisible by 4, that's going to help you out with that. Okay. For page numbering, we're going to start it at page 1. It's totally cool, not a problem. I'm sure there's a time you may need to switch that to page something or other, like 8 or 5, but we're mostly going to leave it at 1. Our page size is going to be letter. Don't freak out if your measurements are picas. I'm going to show you how to change that. But we've changed the measurements, or we didn't change the measurement of the page size, so it's still 8.5 by 11 inches. We're doing a portrait alignment, so it's just your standard paper, straight up and down. The columns, again, this is used for measurement. I'm going to show you guys how that works. So we're going to do 3 columns, and then our gutter space. This is actually the space between columns. I'll point that out to you as well. Is going to be 0.125. That is actually 1/8 of an inch, in case you wanted to know. For the margins, we did customize this. We gave ourselves a lot of space at the top, over an inch, and that was just because we're going to put some tabs there that are kind of big. The bottom, we gave ourselves a little extra space just because we're also going to put page numbering down there. For the inside, this is where the page curls into into the spine of the book. So usually that's like you can get really tight in that, and you don't want your words to be too close. So we're giving ourselves some extra space just to push all of our content away from that curl and away from the spine of the book. And the outside, which is on the very outside of each page, we gave ourselves about half inch, no, quarter of an inch. We gave ourselves a quarter of an inch margin there. Okay. And then finally, for the bleed, which we'll see that here in our document in a minute, we gave ourselves an eighth of an inch. Like I said, we'll take a look at that as soon as we open up our document. Okay. All of that's done. So let's go ahead and hit the OK button at the bottom of our panel. Don't worry, I see the time. I want us to open the document first, and then I'll have us do a break. Okay. So now you'll see under presets, you have default, which is what InDesign starts with, and then you have newsletter. Bing, we're all good to go there. Let's go ahead and hit the OK button for our presets panel. So everything closes down. So the reason we're not seeing anything right now is we just went ahead and told InDesign, here's a whole bunch of settings for a document that I'm about to create. And I create a lot of this document like every other month. So I don't want to have to keep typing all those settings in. That's what the preset's for. We don't have to do that anymore. Okay. With that said, let's go ahead and open up a document. We're going to use the newsletter presets with all of our presettings. Hang on, Uthman. And that way we can see everything set. What you got, Uthman? What's up?
I had typed it in the chat, but for the
Oh,
gutter, it was 0.1235.
let me jump back up. The gutter 0.125.
0.125.
Mhm.
Okay. All
Did
right,
you get
got
the
it. Thank you.
margins? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Perfect. No problems. All right. So once you get that all set up, we're looking at our screen. Let's go to the file menu and go to new document. So we're going to go to file, new document. We set up all these presets because we open this type of document all the time. So we don't want to have to type in everything all the time. Okay. It's easier just to set a preset so we could just choose that. Now, this is where Adobe kind of frustrated me. I think it was stupid of them. So they don't have an option that says preset. Why would you call them presets if you don't have the option labeled as presets? If you look to the right-hand side, you'll see all the settings. This is all the stuff that we were just looking at. It's literally all the settings we were just looking at. So you could construct your document if you need, but why type all of that when we got a preset? That's why we set up a preset. So I'm not worried about customs or anything that's over here. At the top where it says recent, click on saved and you'll see default and newsletter. I don't know why they call it saved. That was stupid. I want to call someone there and yell at them and just get them to explain why, because it disconnects. but this is where your presets are. All right. It actually took me a couple weeks to figure this out because I was super mad. So we're going to click on the Saved tab at the top, and then we're going to choose Newsletter. When you click on it, you're going to notice that the settings are there. Everything that you had, your margins. So next month, when you have to do the April newsletter, all the settings are already there. May, settings are already there. June, July, everything. The settings are already there. You don't have to type this up again. That's what a preset's about. Okay. So let's go ahead and click the create button on the bottom right of our little panel. And ta-da, we open up our document. Again, I'm aware of the time. I'm just going to kind of walk through because I know we're going to take a break. I just want to walk through and show you guys this stuff. So that red line that's on the outside of the white space, that's your bleed. Anything that is between the black line on the edge of the white space and that red line is going to get cut off. Okay. That's how you make things look like it printed to the edge. When we go on the inside, you see your margins. So the magenta is at the top of the bottom, and the purple lines are the vertical. And then you see the ones in the middle. So these columns, they're actually used for measurement. Think of a newspaper. I want a picture that's 2 columns wide, and then I'm going to post an article below it that's going to take up 2 columns. Or I can say the picture is going to be 2 columns wide, the article is going to be 3 columns wide. That's how, and sometimes I think if you watch movies that have like a newspaper or a printing place, they'll talk, or a publication, they'll talk like that. So that's actually how these are used. They use a column structure to help them organize newspapers. I've never worked at a newspaper. I knew somebody who actually did. So they kind of explained that to me as well. So if you want, you can use your mouse wheel and we'll just scroll down. This is a way to navigate between pages. If you scroll down just a bit, you're going to notice that there are 2 pages right next to each other. This is called facing pages. These pages, like if you open a book, it's 2 pages that face each other when they're closed. So that's what facing pages references, is having 2 pages that when you open a book, they would be next to each other. So why would we want this? Well, think about a 2-page spread. If I make a picture that goes across one page and goes into the second page, think of magazines, publications that you've looked at that have had that kind of stuff happen. Because I've done books that have had that. That's what this is about, is being able to control visually and see what 2 pages next to each other look like. For me, I like facing pages. They feel really comfortable. But if you're doing like a single document, or you're more comfortable with just having one page at a time, that's totally understandable. But for this lesson, let's keep it as facing pages just to kind of help you understand how they work. Okay. So that's facing pages. And with that, we'll get started on the lesson here in a bit, but I do want to make sure we take our break. So let's do, it's 4:10. Um, we'll do 10 minutes. It's fine. So we'll come back at 4:20 and then we'll be able to jump in and we're going to start this lesson. I am going to save everything, so that next class will all start at the same point. Okay. All right, guys. So 10-minute break. If anybody has questions, I'm here for you.
I have a question. I got lost. How do I Okay, so can I share my screen again? I'm sorry.
Yep. Go for it. Hey, man, Sas, we're going to get you on like up to speed. Don't worry, buddy.
Okay.
You,
So,
you-
yeah.
go for it. Go ahead.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so I got up to here, but it's like 3 though. Did I do it wrong or something?
Oh, you opened up okay, you have a trifold thing going on. So you see here at the top, where it says 03 trifold template.indd,
Yeah.
you opened up a trifold template. So go
Oh,
ahead and close that. All right, do me a favor. Go to the file menu,
okay.
go to new document. I just want to check something.
Document.
Go to saved at the top of this panel. Saved.
Saved.
Yep. Okay, you may have clicked something else. So yeah, click on the newsletter and hit create. Creates in the lower right,
Oh, yeah.
bottom right of your panel. Yep.
There you go.
There you go. You just accidentally opened up a trifold brochure template, which is
Oh,
kind of
okay.
cool to know it's there, but that's what you did
Yeah.
by accident. No
All
big
right.
deal.
Thank you.
So with your no problem. With your mouse, go ahead and scroll down, like just scroll on the scroll ball or trackpad.
Yeah. Oh,
There you go. So these are called facing pages. Careful now. You're going real fast. So these are facing pages, okay? Where it has two pages next to each other. Think of a book when you open it, those pages that are facing each other when it's closed and you're opening, that's why they're called facing pages. They're right next to each other. Make sense?
yes.
All right. One thing that I do notice is that some of your settings are incorrect. That's gonna be okay. We're gonna make a few changes here in the break for you. Okay. So the first
Okay.
thing I notice is you don't have the bleed. So what I want you to do is at the top of your top of InDesign, go to File, and then where it says Document Presets, right below it is Document Setup. So go ahead and click Document Setup. Okay. Oh, and you guys got picas. My bad. All right. So I'm going to type in the pica measurements into the chat. Okay. So
Okay.
for your margins, all right. So for your margins, the top is going to be 7P 10.5.
All right.
All right. Click on bottom.
Okay.
That's going to be 2P3.
2P and then 3. Okay.
Yep. Go to inside.
Okay.
That's 3P0.
3P and then 0. Okay.
Huh? And for outside is going to be 1P6.
1P. And then we're gonna put 6 right here. Okay.
Okay, excellent. Now, right below all of that, you see where it says bleed and slug. Click that arrow to the left.
Okay.
All right. So for your bleed, that measurement, just go to where it says top.
Okay.
That's going to be 0P9.
0P9. Okay.
Hit tab.
Tab. Right here.
Yep. Notice how that entire row suddenly turned to 0P9. That's
Yes.
because of that chain link on the far right-hand side.
Oh. The
Look at
unclick.
your margins. No, don't unclick it, but look at your margins. Those measurements didn't stick. That chain link is linked. See where the
Uh,
margins are? Where it says top, bottom, inside, outside?
yeah.
Yeah. So click that chain. Not that one. That's the bleed. Yeah. Where it says margins in the
Oh.
middle. Yeah. So when you break that chain, you can actually change these values individually. So no problem. We're going to go back from the top, literally. So where
Okay.
it says top, you're
Yeah.
going to type, yep, you're going to type 7P 10.5.
All right. 10.5. Okay.
Mhm. Bottom is 2P3.
All right. 2P. And then we're gonna put 3 right here.
Mhm. Inside is 3P0.
0. Okay.
And then outside is 1P6. So that one should have been right. Mhm.
Okay.
All right. So we're good on our measurements. Go ahead and hit OK.
Okay.
And boom, there you go.
Okay.
So even as we're creating our documents and doing these presets, we can always go back later and open up, do that document setup, and it allows you to change the size of the document. You can change the bleeds if you need, or your margins as well. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, bud.
All right.
And don't worry, man. Like I said, I taught someone who literally learned to turn a computer on 3 months before she was in my room. And even she, by the end of the class, was like cruising through the program. So um, it's not a big deal. In fact, I almost encourage you and everyone, and I'll say this at the end of the class today, download the video tomorrow and then try following along again. It's just going to help you get more comfortable navigating around and everything. So and I usually always recommend that to students in general. But we got
Yeah.
a few minutes.
The
It
last time
just takes practice.
the last time I used this was a long time ago.
Hey, not a problem. Believe me, I completely understand. But don't worry. Like I said, as we're going through the program, we're going to practice everything too. Jerry, so we opened up our document. We set up our newsletter uh, preset. So this is again the preset's the idea that we're using something more than once. This is something that we're normally going to be doing. We're creating newsletters every month. Okay. So let's go over, we're going to take a look at what's called the pages panel. If you're looking at your screen, it's on the right hand side more than likely. It does have what looks like two pages where the corners are curled. That's that panel. If you don't see that panel, no biggie. Go to the window menu at the top. Just go to the window menu at the top. Remember, this menu is in alphabetical order. It's freaking awesome. But we're going to go to the window menu at the top, and then you can choose pages. We're just opening up the pages panel. Okay. I love this panel, especially if you're creating a multiple page document. You'll be in here, quite a bit. So when we look at it, there's two sections that we see. The top part that has none and a dash parent, and then you have all these pages that are at the bottom, so pages 1 through 8. I'm going to real quick go over the anatomy of this panel, and then I'll show you how you can use it for navigation. So the top part, they actually changed this a couple of years ago. It used to be called master, or no, they changed this last year. It used to be called master pages. Now they're called parent pages. And it actually works out because there's a couple places in this lesson where we talk about the parent-child relationship in terms of files or pages. So what you do in one affects the other, but it doesn't go backwards. And so I think that's why they changed it to parent, which works out pretty well. I kind of like that. So occasionally I may throw out the word master, and I'll correct myself immediately because I'm trying to get myself to calling them parent pages. But we're going to talk about parent pages actually really quickly here in a bit. Whatever you do in a parent page, it shows up on the rest of your document. So that it says a parent. That A is in reference to what you see in the documents. The A that's in the upper corners of these blank pages inside your document. Again, we're going to talk a little bit about parent page. We'll talk a lot about parent pages. We're going to talk a lot about them. So we'll talk about parent pages and how they relate to the rest of the document, and how you can create multiple ones, and how to see how they're applied differently. When we scooch down, you're going to see that you have documents or pages that go like pages 1 through 8. So this is your actual document. So what you do here only shows up on one page. What you do in the parent pages shows up on all the pages. And so, a lot of times what you're normally dealing with or interacting with are individual pages. But parent pages have a really usefulness to them, if you will. Um, so for parent pages, for example, if you have page numbers inside your document, you're going to put those in your parent pages because then it's going to put them on every single page. Don't worry, we're actually going to do that in this lesson. And then if you look at the bottom of this panel, if your panel is real short, there's some vertical lines. It kind of looks like a texture grip at the bottom of your panel. If you move your cursor over that, it does an up and down arrow. You can click and elongate, if you will, your panel so you can see all of your pages if you need. Okay. And you're going to notice that they're all numbered. So the right hand side of your document are odd, left hand side are even. And also at the bottom, you see a trash can. You'll see a couple other symbols there. The trash can is really the one I'm more interested in and what we'll talk about or use. But so that's your pages panel. This is just a way to be able to navigate around. We're going to start with our navigation by navigating into the parent pages. So that in InDesign, when you're navigating in the pages panel, clicking once just selects it. So if you go up to the pages panel, what you want to do is actually double click the name a dash parent. So in your pages panel, double click where it says a dash parent. It's going to get a blue box around that. That lets you know that A, you are in the parent panel and you're addressing the A parent uh, pages. And B, your screen's going to suddenly have two pages right next to each other. Remember, this is called facing pages. So this is what a two-page spread would be set up with. But the important part is in pages that A parent name, that's lit up blue. That means you're working in the pages. Again, if you just click once, it ain't going to work. Click twice, so it works. Think tap once doesn't work, double tap works, okay? So what we do inside the parent pages affects the rest of the document. But what you do up here can be very useful and help you shortcut a lot of like layout, for example. What we're going to do is we're going to put a bunch of guides up here. And those guides are going to help us later inside of our document. We don't normally do this type of thing, putting guides into a mass or inside the parent pages. There are uses, like some of the not the first thing we do, but the second one where we actually start pulling guides out of the ruler. That actually, you might set some guides for your tabs or your page numbers, but we normally don't do a whole lot of stuff in the parent pages because your document is going to have all the content that you're trying to showcase. But this lesson is structured in a way to help you see things. So that's why we're going to do a lot of stuff that we're not normally doing in the real world. And I'll let you know that. But so all these guides that we're about to create, it's really so that you can see how they show up on other pages. All right. So you may not do this in the real world, but for the purposes of the lesson, it's going to help you give you some insight and some actual visual examples for you to see. So we're in the A parent panel, our pages at the top. We're going to create some guides. Now, back in the day, this first option was never available. So we were literally pulling guides out of the rulers. But if you know that you're going to have a certain setup, this could actually help you out with organizing the way your page is set up. So we're going to go to the top menus. We're going to choose layout, go to layout. You'll see that there's a pages option there. I honestly, I've never gone in here for that. It's a really long way to get to the point or getting to a page. You can use the pages panel. It's way easier. But what we're going to look at is the fourth option. It says create guides. So we're at the layout menu at the top, and then we have the fourth option, create guides. We're going to click on that, and this will open up a panel for us. So we have rows and columns. Rows run horizontally, columns run vertical, just in case someone didn't know. So we're going to start out over here with the row. Now, I want you to check that preview box because it's actually going to show you what it's doing as well. So we check the preview box on the right-hand side of the panel. For the rows, we're going to change that number to 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to see that there are now 4 rows in here. And it's got that tiny space between the rows. That's called a gutter space. Just like with your columns, you see that teeny tiny space between each one of these purple columns. That's called a gutter space. So gutter space is the space between columns. Okay. I'm gonna not follow the book on this next part. So for the gutter, the book wants us to keep it. I'm not going to. Just go ahead and eliminate that number. Oh, I need to show you guys how to take the picas off. I'll do that in just a second. For the gutter, I'm just going to leave it at 0. Oh, whoops. I accidentally exited out. 4, 0. There we go. So I'm just going to leave the gutter rows to 4. 4 rows with 0 gutter space. I just want single lines, okay? Now, this is currently setting up these columns to a page. So if you go from top to bottom, you see that there's one column or 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows, right? Okay. Columns. There are no columns. We're going to set up 2 columns. What? Yes. Okay. So when you click it to do 1, it doesn't show anything. That's because what's already there is considered a column. Okay. So when we do 2 columns, you're going to see that it splits the vertical part of the page in half. So left to right, you have 1, 2 columns. We have gutter space. We don't need gutter space. So let's go ahead and put 0 in there. All right. So we have 4 rows, 2 columns. All right. And as you can see, it's already setting up all these guides for us. Kind of cool in that sense. All right. The next part, we're going to drop down and it says options. So it says fit guides to. We're currently set on pages or on the page. So what this is looking at is one individual page from top of the page where the black line is down to the bottom, and same for the side to side. Now, that might work sometimes, but the live area is what's inside the margins, and that's where we do our work. So we're not actually concerned about the outside space outside of the margins, especially because all of our margins are completely different from left, right, top, bottom, right? So in this case, it's actually better if we choose margins. Okay. So if we click that button, this is going to change everything. Now we're going to look inside the margins. Don't worry about what's outside the margins. Look on the inside. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. The rows. The columns haven't changed, just the rows. So then this still has the 2 columns on the inside. All right. You're also going to notice, especially if you look at the top left, you're going to notice that vertical line running out of the purple, and you're going to notice the vertical line coming out of the top margin that's going left. So that's what it's doing there is it's actually separating the outside of the margins from where it's on the inside as well. It's just a lot of guides. But I would suggest choosing margins every time just because this is where you're working essentially is inside the margins. Okay. Remove existing ruler guides. We didn't have any there, so we don't have to worry about it. But we have 4 rows, 2 columns, no gutters. And we went ahead and switched the guides to fit to margin. Okay. So let's go ahead and hit OK. Ta-da. All right. So it's I know you really can't see it in the pages panel, but all of these guides are now on every single page. Don't go look just yet. Okay. Because we're going to do a few more things up here. But before we wrap up, I'm definitely going to have you guys jump down and take a look at some of that stuff. Okay. All right. So creating the guides, it's a really cool feature. It's really helpful. Now, I normally just pull guides as I need them, but it's a really useful feature. So I like making sure my classes know that it's there. But there's also a way to manually do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull out some guides from the rulers. And that's actually how they normally came about. So you should definitely have your rulers there. So what we're gonna do, I'm putting the measurement into the chat. Yes, I'm putting the measurement in the chat. So we're gonna pull from the top ruler. All right. So the one across the top, it's literally click and drag. You're gonna click inside the ruler, bring yours down. Now, I don't want you to bring your cursor inside the document. If you do that, you're going to notice your guide only goes from side to side on one page. What I want you to do is move your cursor over to the pasteboard, which is off to the side, that dark gray space. You're going to notice your guide flies across both pages. If you're just needing a guide for a specific page, pull it down and go inside that page. But if you're pulling the guide down and you need it to go across both pages or multiple pages, go to the pasteboard and put it where you need it. All right. Oh, you know what? Release your mouse and then let's go to edit undo. I keep forgetting. I am sorry. We're going to eliminate that. Let me back up. I hate picas. I am so sorry. I need to turn the inches on for you guys because I know Silas has picas too. So let's do that real quick. Forget the guide for a second. We're going to go to the edit menu. It's been a while since I've had to switch this. So we're going to go to the edit menu. And then if you're on a Mac, you need to go to the InDesign name in the top left. So Windows machines, go to edit. Mac, you're going to go to where it says InDesign in the very top left of the InDesign panel, or top left of your screen. Sorry, very, very top left of your screen. And then you're going to go to preferences. Okay. So when I did the whole like walk through some of these menus earlier, I mentioned we would be in here. So there's not a lot in here that you need to come in and mess with, but where it says units and increments, so not the first group of 3, not the second group of 3, but the third one says units and increments. That's where we're going to go. This is like increments for measurement and such. So the top option says ruler units. That's where this is important. Origin, don't mess with that. Just leave it alone. But where it says horizontal and vertical, if it says picas, change that to inches. Change it to inches. Like I said, picas is a measurement type that nobody uses anymore. Where it says other units, stroke, leave it alone. That's actually how stroke is measured, is in points. It'll say keyboard increments at the very bottom, leave it alone. Because it actually, I know a cursor key says picas. I ain't worried about that. I'm looking at baseline, shift, size, leading, kerning, tracking. These are all measured in points. Leave them alone. The only things that we're going to change are going to be at the very top where it says horizontal and vertical. All right. So go ahead and hit OK. All right, Silas, I need to get you caught up on you're right at the tail end of something we were doing. go to where it says InDesign at the very, very, very top left of your screen. A menu is going to pop down and you're going to choose preferences. Okay. Let me know when you got that. Once you get to the preferences, it's going to kick out a side menu and you're going to choose units and increments. All right. Did you find the preferences?
Uh, I'm looking at Windows, right? You said?
No, 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 no. You're on a Mac.
Oh,
Yeah. So go to the very, very, very top left corner where it says InDesign, of your screen, like
yeah.
of your screen. You see it?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
preferences. I see it.
Okay. When that menu kicks out to the side, choose increments or units and increments. It's the 7th option from the top.
Units and increments. Oh, I see it.
Click on that.
Okay, I got
All
it.
right. You see at the top on it says ruler units. It'll say horizontal and vertical. Change those from picas to inches. Just drop that menu down where it says picas and choose inches for both. That's it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Hit OK. We're done.
All right.
Perfect. All right. So you guys, that's how you can change those measurements. Trust me, no one's going to come and say, I need a 50 pica 9 document. Nobody says that. In fact, a lot of designers, these younger designers probably don't know what it is. So it's just something that's there so that you know. But that's how you change the increments. If you go to Europe or you're working with a European client, you can change it to meters, millimeters, and centimeters. They're actually there as an option. We're weird and crazy. We use imperial. We're doing inches. Okay. So now our document is set to inches. So we set up our guides, and now we're going to manually pull these guides down. This is where algebra is going to come into key. So X and Y coordinates. Okay. So with our cursor, we're going to go to the ruler at the top and we're going to bring a measurement or bring a guide down. Like I said a moment ago, if you pull the guide down and your cursor is over your document pages, it's only going to go across one document. So this is great if you just need it on one page, but I don't. I need this to go across both pages for the 2-page spreads. So if you take your cursor, a click and drag is all you're doing. If you take your cursor and you move it over the paste board, you're going to see the line stretch straight across the screen. Like literally, it goes across the entire part of your document screen. This is great. So we want that. No big deal if you didn't get it. You can always go back and change it. What the other thing you're going to notice is that right next to your cursor is a little gray box, and it says Y colon, and then it has a measurement. This is another feature of smart guides. This is actually helping you with placing your guide that you're working with. So this guide needs to go to 0.375. I put that in the chat. So here's the thing. That one's a real tricky measurement to get to. I have it on my screen, but it's like real tricky. So even on my screen for the video recording, I'm going to go ahead and put this in the wrong place on purpose. Even if you accidentally place it somewhere it shouldn't go, if you look at your control panel at the top, you're going to notice that Y coordinate. Um, it'll tell you your measurement. So for example, I purposely put my guide at 0.76 inches. So I'm way far away from where I need to be, but that's okay. When a guide is selected, it turns blue. When it's not selected, it's that cyan color, that really, really weird light blue. So mine's still selected. I can actually, in my control panel, type in the proper measurement. So instead of 0.76, I'm going to type in 0.375. And when I hit tab, my guide goes to where it needs. So don't freak out. I make a game out of it for myself. How many times can I pull a guide out and put it in the right place the first time? It's probably a little over half because my mouse shifts. So, but just know that if your mouse shifts, if somebody bumps you, I've got a cat that likes to come and mess with me while I'm on my computer. And so that kind of stuff, maybe someone scares you and you put it in the wrong place. Not a big deal. Just select that guide and in the control panel, type in the measurement it's supposed to be at. Okay. So we're going to put a guide at 0.375. It's going to be kind of high up on your page. No big deal. All right. We're going to pull, there's supposed to be another guide that we pull out. I'm trying to get the measurement. Yes. Okay. The second guide that we're going to pull out, this one's going to go down to towards the, oh, sorry, it's got a bunch of extra text in there. This is going to go towards the bottom of the page, and this is going to go at 10.75. So I'm just going to go to the ruler at the top of the document. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag out. Make sure this is on the paste board, that your cursor is on the paste board, so that the line goes straight across both pages, okay? So I'm going to go to the top ruler. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag this guy down. I'm looking at that little box. I'm going to 10.75. I'm going to try to get it right on the first time. Ooh, I got it on the first time. Cool. So this is a little outside the margin. It's just further down the document page. All right. Type got it in the chat once you have both of those guides set. Nice. Fantastic. I think Jerry already knows how to do this. All right. And then let's see, these second guides. They want us to pull some other guides in from the side. And I believe, so the first one is a 1/2 inch in. So we're going to go the ruler on the left. We're going to pull this in. Honestly, because these pages are 1 page tall, don't worry about whether you've got to put it over the document. So let's just go ahead. We're going to pull our guide in. It's going to go to 1/2 inch. Bink, got it on the first try. Now, the second one, it's kind of a mirror image. And so this one, they're putting all this text in the chat things that I'm doing because I'm copying it out of my Kindle edition. But the next one is going to be 16.5. So we're going to pull our guide all the way across, and it's going to go to 16.5. Ooh, got that one there too. My hands have gotten steadier lately. All right. So real quick, we went into the parent page. We went ahead and pulled some guides out, right? And then, well, we set up our guides first. So the generate guides feature, again, really cool. Never really used it in the professional world, but I could see that this may have a use to some people. So really cool that you can tell it how many rows and columns you need if they need a gutter space. It'll let you choose between, do you want that measurement based on the size of the page, or do you really want that measurement to just be on the inside of the margins? Which, as I said, the vast majority of the time, you're probably going to choose the margins for that. And then we went ahead and manually pulled in some of these from the ruler, old school, if you will. And, it's a really, really great thing to remember is that you can pull those out manually, or that you can have this generate certain amounts of guides in certain ways automatically. So that's really helpful. We got that stuff set. I'm looking at some things. Let's actually just kind of wrap it there because it's about to do like the page headers and stuff, and I'd rather wait till next class on this. What I do want to show you guys, and we'll touch base on this again next class when we wrap up when we continue and wrap up lesson 3, is that what you do in the parent pages will show up in your document. Okay, so what I want you all to do, and just for the purposes of the 2-page facing pages setup, let's go to pages 2 and 3. Just double click on page 2. Just double click. Remember, a single click selects the pages. Double clicking will actually take you down there. So when you do that, you're going to be like, wait, nothing changed. It did. You're actually on pages 2 and 3. And what it is that all these guides have been put onto these pages. So everything you did in the parent page with our guides, we're seeing that in the rest of our document. So that's actually how parent pages work. Now you can try and select these guys. You can't do it. They're actually, because they're sitting in the parent pages, you can't control them inside the document. Don't worry. Way later down towards the end of the lesson, we're actually going to talk about how you can release things from the parent pages into the regular document. It's a part of the lesson, so don't worry about that. So we are going to be in the parent section. So in the pages panel, we're going to double click that name, a parent. It just makes it easier if you just double click on the name. So we'll get up there. You'll know that you're in that section because you have
two pages that are facing. So they're right next to each other. But also you'll notice that the name A parent is lit up in a blue rectangle, and that the two pages on the right side of that name in the parent section of the pages panel are highlighted blue as well. So we're going to start there. And what we're going to do here is we're going to put a page number, and we're going to put some information, and then it's going to be able to reflect across all of our pages. So using the zoom tool, you're going to want to zoom in. I know a lot of times, especially if you're not familiar in the programs, you like to kind of work at a distance because you want to see the whole thing. But that's not normally how we designers work. And I was actually mentioning this at work to some of the other designers. We all had a good chuckle about it because it's true. We really don't look at the whole page very often unless we're looking, we zoom out to look at the balance or something like that. So a lot of times what we do is we zoom into a specific space that we're working in, and then we zoom back out. Now, of course, this is dictated by the size of your document. I work on ads that are, for Instagram, Facebook, and Google Business, so they're not really big to begin with. But still, when it comes to books and layouts and such, when I do this stuff, I'm zoomed in because I want to see things. It's also sometimes really hard to click where you need to get or to see where something is lined up. So zooming in does help you out. So if you get motion sickness, don't do the multiple clicks. Just click and drag around the space that you want to zoom into, and it'll zoom you in. So we're going to start in the top left corner, and I want to make sure that I can see the halfway point of the page, that vertical line that's in the midpoint of the page at 4 1/4. That's pretty close to 4 1/4. It's because we have the margins there. And so we are going to work inside the space that's below the first horizontal guide. So you've got one cyan guide going across. At the top, we're going to work right below that. And then we have one that's vertical down the middle of the page, and we want to make sure we see that as well. All right. So inside here, what we're going to do is we are going to start by putting in a text frame. So we're going to go over to our toolbar on the left-hand side. We're going to choose our type tool. Remember, this is like a huge thing if you get lost inside of InDesign. If you just move your cursor over a tool or over something like in the control panel at the top, it'll actually give you the name. So you just put it over that T, it tells you the name, but it also shows you the shortcut on this. So just so you're aware of that. All right, so, this is where I kind of break a little bit from the book because I don't like the way they line things up. So I'm going to have you guys draw a text frame. It's going to be real big, but we're going to adjust the size. I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So with this cursor, you have a square, a dotted square. You have a little cursor symbol inside, and then you have a little arrow that represents your actual cursor. So there was once upon a time they messed this whole thing up, but the cursor was all sorts of weird and jacked up and not working right because wherever you clicked was not in the right spot. So the top left corner where that little black arrow is, that's actually the tip of your cursor as it is. So just keep that in mind. We're going to go to that first vertical to the left, first vertical guide. You'll see from the margins, the purple line on the far left side of the page. And then it goes straight up. There's a guide that cuts it right out of it and goes straight up to the end of the page. We're going to start right there where it crosses the horizontal one at the top. So it's right where the two furthest to the left guides and top where they crisscross. So it's like a 1/4 of an inch and then just below a 1/4 of an inch. So text frames, the crazy thing is unlike Illustrator, if you click just anywhere, nothing happens. It actually doesn't just throw a cursor in there. So we have to draw the text frame. So we're going to draw one. It's going to go from that corner all the way over to that halfway point where the vertical guide is going up and down midway through the page. And it's going to go down to this magenta margin at the bottom. It's a really, really huge box, but I'm doing that on purpose to show you something, okay? So we're going to start on the far left, the furthest left cyan guide where it crosses the topmost guide. Click drag your frame all the way out so that it goes to the midpoint, the vertical midway guide. I'm trying to think of the best way to word it. And then all the way down to that magenta line that marks the top of the margin area. If you're not too sure, on my screen, I clicked out of it so you can actually see the whole frame. So if you want to switch over and take a look just to be sure, you're welcome to. Once you have that done, type "I got it" in the chat, and that way I know everybody's got their stuff and ready to go. Awesome, awesome. All right, Silas, what's up?
Okay, so on my thing is, hold on, let me go to
I can't hear you.
Hello?
That is weird. I think something may be up with your audio. Okay, Jerry. I figure you know how to draw a text frame, Jerry. Yeah, Silas, I don't know what's up, man. Uthman and I had talked just a little while ago, so I know my audio works. Do you want to share your screen? You can just tell me in the chat if you need to share the screen.
Hmm. Can you hear me now?
Still can't hear you, man. I wonder if the audio, either the settings in Zoom or the settings on your computer in terms of privacy might be set. But like I said, if you want to share your screen, you're welcome to. I just got to know. I turned off mine, so the sharing screen of mine, so you can share yours if you want. Let's take a look. Buddy, you keep opening the trifold. All right, so where it says 03 underscore trifold, hit the X next to it. You opened up the trifold file. It's in the top left. See that little tab says 03 trifold? Yeah, that X. Yeah. Okay. Go to open up your files. And oh, you didn't download the new file. You have to go download it, dude. Yeah, it's in the drive. You'll see it. It'll say strength at the end. It's there. Because I think I uploaded it like right after I did the video. But I remember the reason I laughed was I remember you did that last week too. With the trifolds, which is cool. Hey, if you work or foresee that you will need a trifold brochure, there's your template right there, man. You didn't even have to do much for it. It's got the guides and everything set up. So we'll hang tight for a minute. And Sammy, how are we doing? We got everything opened up? So you'll see there's a file that says, I think it's, let me pull up the exact name on it. I'll tell you. Here. It says lesson 3 underscore strength.indd. And I got that in the chat for you too. And then I responded to your email last weekend. Just make sure I record each lesson for review purposes, or if somebody misses class, it gives them a chance to catch up without really losing, credit for a certification or whatever. So make sure that you're doing, or make sure that you go over that video that's there from last weekend too. It'll help you catch up a little bit. Hey, Silas, here's the thing. Just make sure that you go back and do the lesson over using the video, okay? I totally get it, man. I had I had a parent last semester that she was constantly getting up because her child was autistic and her child was sick. So I get family aspects, no worries. I just want to make sure that you're grabbing everything that you can, but also make sure you guys that like just go download the lessons anyways. Like even if you're like, I totally know what they did, just download them because later you can review them all. Okay. Here's what I'm gonna do. I am gotta kind of keep us going because we're burning time here. All right. And then what we can do on the first break is I can start helping anybody, or I can share the file, whatever we need to get everyone kind of on the same page. So we've got our text frame in there. All right. You should have a blinking cursor. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put in a page number. Now, this was something that InDesign and even when I was trained on Quark, this was something that they implemented in programs like Word started catching up to it. Publisher started catching up. So now it's something that's in practically everything. And I really don't know why it wasn't there 10 years ago, but 10 plus years if I think about it. But we're going to go ahead and put a page number in there. And what it does is it's putting a marker in there. So what we're going to end up seeing is the letter A, because this is the A parent. And that A is going to basically represent which parent page you're on. But in our document, it's literally going to show the page it's on. And the cool thing is that in InDesign, when you start to rearrange your pages and move things around, it doesn't matter. That marker is just to represent what the page number is. So if you move page 3 to the page 8 position, it will immediately change the page 3 marker to say page 8. So it's a really cool feature, but a lot of programs are doing that now. So with our cursor inside of our text frame, you just have that blinking cursor. A standard setup of books, magazines, and such is to have the page number on the outside of the page, closest to the outside, and then followed by any other information after that. So, and then I'm gonna show you how to duplicate and put it onto the other page, and then we'll rearrange the content so that it sits correctly. It's a standard that really no one breaks because it would be super weird. We wouldn't understand the page number for whatever reason. We're all locked in on page number goes on the outside. Whether this information is at the top or the bottom of the page doesn't really matter. All right. But this is actually something that's a very unspoken standard. So we're going to go to the type menu at the top, go to the type menu at the very top. And then down towards the very bottom, there are 3 sections: insert special characters, insert white space, and insert break characters. These have a lot of really cool features inside them. Break characters are exactly what you think: column breaks, frame breaks. That would be like breaking it to make something go into another text frame. Think what we did in lesson 2 with the text flow, where it went from one box to another. You can force text to stop and jump to another box. Same thing of doing like page breaks and things like that. The white space is actually interesting. We're going to talk a little bit about a couple of the features in there because we're going to use them here in a bit. And then insert special characters. This is a really, really great tool to know about because you have symbols like you ever wanted to find the copyright symbol. Boom, it's right there. You need trademark symbol, registration symbol if you need page numbers and section numbers, different types of quotations, hyphens and dashes, things like that. These are all going to be in the special character section. It can save you a lot of headache. And this has been super beneficial for a lot of things that I've had to work on in the past. Just knowing that I can run over here and grab the copyright symbol real quick or the trademark symbol. But what we're going to do is go into insert special character. So we're in the type menu at the top. We're going to go to insert special character and we're going to go to markers. That's why I said this is a marker. So we're going to go to markers and we're going to choose that first option, current page number. So our cursor's in our text frame. We're going to go to the type menu at the top, go down towards the bottom. It's the 5th from the bottom. It says insert special character. We're going to choose a marker because this is marking which page we're on. And we're going to choose the current page number so that it reflects the current page number there. Okay. And like I said, we're going to see the letter A because this is the A parent. And we'll eventually get down into the lower pages and you'll get to see the page number there in all of its glory and full function. But just know that that's why we're seeing the letter A. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do is I get to talk to you guys a little bit about some stuff that I learned when I worked with some editors. So and actually I did a little research on this too, because I got really curious. And you have to know that like I suck at spelling for the most part, but I'm pretty decent at like grammar and punctuation. I seem to have picked that part up in my adult years. But so I really tried to learn a lot about that to just strengthen what I didn't pick up when I was in school. And so it made a huge difference in the way that I write and present information to people. So there was some interesting things that they taught me because I got real curious. Now I know what an ellipse is, which is the three dots. It's a pause in your speech, and so I know what it is. And then I saw this dash, and it's a really really long dash. And I grabbed one of the editors, and I was like, "What is this?" It's the exact same thing as an ellipse. They just use it instead of three dots. So I thought it was a really interesting thing to learn. So I started reading up on these dashes, and I like to share information with my classes. So I'm going to share some information with you. So there are three types of dashes that we actually run across. And the first one we run across, that's your typical dash. It's the one at the top of the keyboard. It's mostly just a minus sign or just your regular dash. Like if you're hyphenating words, things like that. It's technically called a hyphen. So there's that regular dash that we use. There's another dash that we use, and it's called an N, just like the letter N as in no, an N dash. Now, this dash is the width of a lowercase letter n for whatever font you're using, whatever font size you have. So this is a very specific dash used for when you do something like 9 to 5 p.m. So it means through or up to. So if you do Monday through Friday, it's Monday dash Friday. That's what that dash in the middle is. Sometimes when we type in Microsoft Word or Outlook, PowerPoint, whatever, and we start typing information, then we hit enter to go to the next line, it changes the dash for us because Microsoft's program is addressing that type of dash. Doesn't always work right, but that's what that is. It means through. And then we have something also called an M dash. So like the lowercase letter M as in mother. So this one, it's going to be a much longer because it's a longer width. And so that's the dash that I saw. And again, it's just like an ellipse. It's a pause in whatever you're reading. And since I read quite a bit, like that's something I started noticing a lot more inside of novels and things. And so why do I bring this up? Well, we normally just hit the space bar to put space in there. We might hit the space bar a couple times, but that's not always the best application of a space. So the space bar really just gives us a simple, easy space. We can do an N space, and that gives us a little bit more room, or we can do what's called an M space, and that gives us a really large amount of space, but it's one character, and that's the key to this. So instead of being, like 3 or 4 spacebar taps, it's actually just one thing. And we don't have to worry about adjusting any spacing later if we increase or decrease the font. So why do I bring this up? Well, we're going to put in there what's called an M space. And since nobody's really that familiar, I say nobody as a broad term statement, but since most people are not familiar with M space and N space or M dashes and N dashes, I thought I'd share that information with my classes. And this way you can also understand what we're about to put in there. So we're going to go ahead and between our page number and the title of whatever we're putting in here, we need to have a good amount of space. So we're going to put an M space. All right. So if our cursor is on the side of the A, we're going to go to the type menu at the top, go to the type menu at the top. We're going to go down to insert white space. So insert white space is the fourth option from the bottom. And the very first option is called an M space. And we're going to choose that one. So we throw that in there. And if you look at it, that's a pretty wide amount of space. So why would we do that? Well, I'll tell you in just a moment. Let's get that text that we're going to add in there put in because it actually really helps for you to be able to see that. Okay. So we've put in putting it in the chat for you guys. We put in our page marker. We've got an M space. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and put garden news at next. Garden news. So again, page marker, it says the letter A because we're in the A master. We've got the M space, which is a big space, and then garden news. So let me explain the spacing. So this is actually a visual cue for the reader's brain. A lot of times you may not realize or may not have realized that your brain immediately processed something in a certain way. You just did it subconsciously. So for this, if we did a space garden news, we might think 2 garden news, 4 garden news. Our brains would be like, wait, what are they trying to say? When we put a much larger space between the two, the page marker and the term garden news, that actually gives an indicator to the reader's brain that this is page whatever of garden news. And we're reading the flyer or a mailer from garden news. Newsletter, that's right. This is a newsletter. So we're reading the newsletter from garden news. That's where that space becomes very important. And it's such a simple thing to add or incorporate, but immediately it impacts the reader in a way that they're not aware of. They immediately think, oh, because they already know this is the page number, this is the title. Okay. So everybody's got that. Let me know if you need a little time to catch up to that point. All right. So pretty easy breezy. Now, the cool thing is for all the left-hand pages, in this case, the even pages, this is already there for all the pages in our document. All right. So I'm going to show you guys a little trick. Okay. And I'm going to leave this thing text frame really wide just to help us with grabbing stuff. But this is a really tall text frame, and I'm real big about cleaning up my space. I've had to go behind other designers and just clean up their text frame boxes because they just throw them in there at different sizes and never resize. So one of the tricks that we have here is the box is really big. And if you try to go to the bottom center of the box and click and bring it up, if you get too close, it'll actually hide your text by accident. You know, no big deal there. This is something that's going to come up in lesson 4, so I don't mind teaching you or showing you right now. If you take your selection tool, the black arrow, and you go to the bottom center of that text frame, there's a little square. You're going to get your cursor is going to change to a double-sided arrow. So it'll be an arrow facing up and an arrow facing down. Okay. All you got to do is double click, click, click. And it should immediately shoot the bottom of your text frame to be flush with your text that you just entered in there. Hopefully that worked for everyone. If it did not, let me know. All right, so this is just a trick. It frees up your space. You're less likely to click into this text frame. There's a lot of reasons that it's good to clean up your space. I can't begin to tell you because it really has to do with like being able to click into certain things or select certain objects. Okay, so I'll give it just a moment. I'm trying not to go too fast with y'all. So what we're going to do next is we're going to duplicate. Now, they actually used to not teach this part, and about 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, they actually started incorporating this in the lesson. Thought it was really important. There is actually a menu option to duplicate things. And of course, I'm like in the spot where I don't remember exactly where it's at because I never use the menu. In fact, I don't know a graphic designer that knows where it is in the menu. So all of us just use the keyboard shortcut, which is really awesome in the sense that the lesson actually teaches you that. So we're going to go ahead and do that. All right. Yes. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom out. Okay. But we're not just going to zoom out. We have to look at both pages. So I want you to go to the view menu at the top, view. And we mentioned this last class that when you go down to the 4th and 5th options, there's zoom in, zoom out. Then there's fit page and window. So this fits one individual page into your screen. It's really great, especially if you're just working in one page specifically. Doesn't matter how many pages you have. Doesn't matter if they're facing pages. It just zooms out to whatever page you're working on and shows you that full page. And then below it is what's called fit spread to window. So when the 2 pages, or if there's more, because you're going to see in one of the lessons, there's 3 pages put next to each other. When there's 2 or more pages that are facing each other, that are right next to each other, that's called a spread. So same thing as I mentioned before, in a magazine, think about a 2-page spread, maybe a picture that cuts across the spine and goes into the next page. So that's what this is. What we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this text frame, but we need to duplicate and move it to the other page. Okay. So let's go ahead and we're going to select fit spread in window. Fit spread in window. This will zoom you all the way out so that you can see both pages side by side. That's where we want to see, because we have to move a copy of this this text frame all the way to the other side. Now, there's a secret I'm sure most of y'all probably know, and that's if you hold the shift key, it allows you to move at certain angles. And so it moves things only at 45-degree angles. So even if your mouse is kind of shaky and you're moving to the side, it'll actually keep it on that straight path. Now, of course, if it's real shaky, you might shoot up into a 45-degree angle. But just to be clear, part of this next move we're going to do is we're going to end up pressing the shift key so that we can just move this straight across. Now, of course, we have guides, and the guides are really helpful. However, when it comes down to it, holding shift is just a good safety precaution to make sure that we move things across, and you don't always think ahead to have guides there. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to do a duplication. To do this, you're going to do the Alt key on your system. So go ahead with the selection tool, the black arrow. Make sure that your text frame is selected. If your cursor is still blinking in there, hit the escape key. It'll back you out one step so that you have your text frame selected. Now, if you hold down the Alt key, and for you Mac users, I know there's an Alt key there. So if you hold down your Alt key, you're going to end up with your cursor becoming two different arrowheads. So there's actually a black and a white arrowhead. This is an indication that you're doing a shortcut to duplicate. So that's your cursor symbol for duplication. You're going to click and drag. You're going to click and drag a text frame all the way to the other side. This is going to be a mirror image. So this is going to the other side of the document on the right-hand side. Right-hand page all the way to the right-hand side. So when you click and start moving around, just hold the shift key afterward, like once you get it out, and you'll notice that your box is only going to move horizontally unless you like try to move it. Well, it doesn't even want to move up and down. So it's going to go straight across, and we're going to go all the way to the very, very last guide on the right-hand side. Okay. I'm going to do that again, especially because we're recording. So holding down the Alt key with the text frame selected, when you move your cursor over that text frame and you're holding the Alt key, it'll switch your cursor to two arrows, one black, one white. That's your cursor indication that you are going to duplicate. So I'm going to click and drag this across. You can see that I've got a box that's following my cursor. I'm still holding the Alt key. Then I'm going to press the Shift key so that I don't misalign this. And then I'm just going to move it all the way over till it butts up against that guide on the furthest side of the right page. And then just as a rule of thumb, because some of these shortcuts are iffy, if you release the mouse and then release the shortcut, you're better off. There are quite a few, like a handful of these shortcuts that if you don't release the mouse first and you let go of the shortcut first, it negates the shortcut you're doing. And I want to say that this is actually one of them. So, and it's not, but still, because I know Illustrator does the same thing. It does a duplication this way, but it does not allow you. You have to let go of the mouse first before the shortcut. It's just a good rule of thumb and a good practice just to release the mouse first and then release your shortcut. It'll only take you like a dozen times to remember this. So, but just keep that up. You should have a text frame now duplicated on the other side of the page. If you do not, let me know so that I can give you a hand with it, okay? And if you do, go ahead and zoom in to that new text frame on the right-hand page. I know, and I actually did that one on purpose. It's just easier to grab that way. Jerry, if you want to change it, you can totally change it. Believe me, I would have already if I was doing this as an actual job piece. But there's a reason that I sometimes do things just to make it easy on everyone. All right. Believe me, it's nothing until you've had to try to click on something and realize there's a text frame in front of it, and that text is like way on the top of the page, but somebody just stretched that text frame all the way down, and you can't select the object behind it. It's really annoying. That's where the double click is helpful. All right. So no one else said anything. I'm going to assume that you guys are good to go. So that's how you duplicate. Honestly, none of us go into the menu. Is it under layout? I think it's under object. It's probably under object. Anchored fitting content. Not that I'm really worried. I was just kind of curious. Is it edit? Yeah, it's under the edit menu is where duplicate is. I figured. Yeah, we just all of us just know this shortcut. Okay. So anyways, outside of that, what we need to do now is this is the right-hand page. So we need the page number marker to go all the way to the right-hand side. But we're just going to do a little bit of a few steps to get us to where we need to be. The first thing I want to do is we're not seeing any of those text, was the hidden characters, like the paragraph returns, the dots for spacing and stuff like that. So I want us to take a look at them. They're going to help us with something in a second, but B, I want you all to see what some of these symbols are so that if you do open a document or something looks wonky, you'll know what you're looking at. And honestly, as much as I used to freaking hate these things, I almost wish that they were always turned on. So to turn our hidden characters on, we're going to go to the type menu at the top, go to the type menu at the top. And that very, very, very bottom option says show hidden characters. So you're going to go to the very, very bottom of the type menu, and we're going to choose show hidden characters. Okay. And then you'll see all the blue, like the blue dots, the line, the hashtag show up. So that line is an M dash. And then if it was an N or M space, if it was an N space, you would see a slightly shorter line and then a slightly shorter one for a regular dash. I take that back. You wouldn't see it necessarily for that kind of a space. The dot is the space bar. But that gives you an idea of what that symbol for an M dash looks like. There is a reason I have this turned on right now because we're going to see how it kind of messes up in that sense. But let's do ourselves a favor, and we're just going to take the type tool. So on the toolbar on the left-hand side, grab your type tool, and then we're going to select the words garden news. And then we're going to cut it out. All right, so you can go to edit, do cut. If you know the shortcut, which is Control X as in xylophone or Command X on the Macs, we're just going to take that out. All right. Now, the other part of this is it's going to still have that M space. So we're going to go ahead and hit backspace. So we've cut out the words garden news because personally, I don't like retyping stuff. I'm already bad at spelling. And then we're going to take out that space, but we're going to put everything back to it in just a moment. All right. Next, we need to move everything to the right-hand side. So this is called an alignment. It's not a justification. We're actually going to, I'll explain justifications and alignments in lesson 4 because it comes up. But what we're going to do here is called an alignment. If you go to your control panel at the top, this has got like right now it should have your font family, font style, font size, and so on. Let me know in the chat if you don't have all that information at the very top above your document, like right underneath all your menu pieces like file, edit, layout. Sammy, I'm looking at you. Jerry, I'm looking at you. So if you don't have that control panel and if you don't know what I'm talking about, look at my screen on the video because I've got it. I'm moving my mouse around it. If you don't have that, remember that it's the window menu and it's called control. Go to the window menu at the top and go to control. But we're gonna jump in there. There we go. When we look at the control panel, we're gonna see the font family. Right now it's Minion Pro. Font size is 12. We go through the caps and superscripts. We're gonna keep moving across. There's going to be a big black T inside of a white box. That's our swatches. That's the color of our font. We're going to move past that. There's a capital A for the character style. We're not worried about that. And then we're going to go over, and remember, moving your mouse over things tells you what it is. We're going to go over to where there's all the lines. And these should look familiar. So you have your left alignment, center alignment, and right alignment. And this is just, is everything shoved to the left? Is everything shoved to the right? Or is everything centered? Okay. The bottom ones are justifications. We'll talk about those later. We're just doing alignment. So for the right-hand alignment, we're going to choose that option. And this will move your A all the way to the right-hand side. Now, I realize that I actually did a step before I should have. If I had left the M space in there, I'm actually doing it on my screen for the video. What it would do when you do the right alignment, even though it has an M space, it doesn't care. It's actually going to ignore that and then shove the A like all the way to the right-hand side, just like everybody has right now. Problem is that the M space still is there. And I could still see the symbol there. So we would just have to backspace and get rid of it. So I just kind of made you guys do it a step before I should have, and that's okay. All right, so we took out the text. We went ahead and removed the M space early, and then we right aligned. So we threw the A all the way to the right-hand side of the text frame. Go ahead and move your cursor to the left. So we're on the left side of the page marker, that A. And it's blinking. Now, that A is a page marker. And remember, the page numbers have to be on the outside spot. So we're going to go ahead and put our text back in there. So you can do edit and paste. You can do Control V as in victory or Command V on the Mac. And that will paste your text in there. I'll give a second for everyone to get that. Now, there's a caveat to this because when you do that, and it's a weird thing that InDesign's done forever and ever, is it likes to throw a space at the end of a word. And I hate that. And so now we have a space, but that's a regular space. We don't need that space. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our cursor and we're going to get rid of that space. The space is between the letter S in news and the A, that's the page marker. I don't know why it does it. There's no setting to stop it. It's done it for over a decade. It will be doing this long after I'm in the dirt. But we want to remove that because when we put that M space in there, we want to make sure that everything on one side looks the same on the other in terms of this, the page numbering, the title that we're putting in there. So we're going to delete that extra space, and then we're going to go ahead and put an M space in there. So again, delete the space between the S in news and the A, that's our page marker. Once you do that, we're going to go to the type menu at the top, go to the type menu at the top. You're going to go to insert white space and choose M space. Go to the type menu at the top, go to insert white space at the bottom, and choose M space. And that'll get our M space in there. So now the right page is a mirror image of the left page. Left page has going from outside inside, page number, M space, garden news. Then when we flip to the right side, it has garden news, M space, page number, okay? Easy breezy. If you did not get that, please let me know in the chat and I will happily get you caught up. Let's see. The next part is, yes, okay. We'll do this one little spot and then I'll put us on a break. And I can help anybody on the break that needs to get caught up to. So we're going to get back into our pages panel. If you need to, it's the panel. It's got the 2 pages on the right-hand side. And again, if you don't have that or you don't recognize it, just go to the window menu at the top. Remember, this is in alphabetical order and choose pages. But from here, you'll remember that we're in the parent page, the A parent. Now, A parent, I don't know what that is. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So we're actually able to go in and name the parents ourselves so that we know what certain things are. To do this, they want us to go to, yep, that's what I thought. All right, so we're in the A parent. Remember that in the top right-hand corner of our panels, there's 4 horizontal lines that are there. We were there last week when we did the character style and we started a new character style. So in the pages panel, we're going to go to that panel menu in the top right corner. When you click on those 4 lines, a whole menu piece opens up. And we have, for example, insert pages, move pages, duplicate parent spread, so on and so forth. We're going to choose something that's it's about halfway down. you'll see a spot that says new parent and then parent options for a parent. So the parent options, that's where we're going to go. So we're in the A parent page section of our pages at the top. We're going to go to the Pages panel menu. It's in the top right-hand corner. It's got 4 horizontal lines. So when we click that, our menu is going to open up. We're going to go about halfway down, and we're going to look for parent options for a parent. This option on the menu is only available if you're in one of the parent pages. It doesn't light up for any if you're in the regular document. All right. So here, this allows us the ability to control certain aspects of, for example, the name of the parent pages, how many pages it is, so on and so forth. For the prefix, highly recommend that you stick with whatever you're using. The default is alphabetical, so it'll always do A, B, C, and so on. However, if for whatever weird reason you decide to change this to a numerical system, stick with it. So if you have 1, the next one, if you make a duplicate or you make a new parent style, is 2. I always stick with the A's. It makes it easier. So I never change this. But for the name, the actual name that we're going to name this portion, we are going to change this name to 3-column layout. So we're going to do 3-column, and then they space it. Yeah, space layout. Oh, my caps lock's on. Happens a lot. All right, I'll put that in the chat in case anybody just wants to do the copy paste. You're fine there. All right, so we're leaving the prefix at A because that's just the way I like to do it. The name, we're going to change this to a 3-column layout. So that's actually what this is. If you remember when we were setting up our document, we set it up with 3 columns, the columns that we use for measurement. All right. Based on, there's no other parent, there's just none. And so we're leaving that alone, and we're going to leave it at 2 pages. 2 pages is fine, no worries. No need to get too crazy today, okay? I think it's lesson 10 that has 3. All right, let's go ahead and hit OK. And so now inside the parent section of your pages panel, you're going to see that it says A-3-column layout. One of the reasons I would discourage you from using a numerical system in terms of the parents instead of doing the alphabetical is because you have page numbers. If you look at your pages in the pages panel, like the actual document pages, they all have an A in the corner. If it's a left page, it's in the upper left corner. If it's the right page, it's in the upper right corner. That A, as we're going to find out when we get back from break, is an indicator of which parent is being applied. So that's why you don't want to get confused with 1s, 2s, and 3s when you have page numbers going on. So having an alphabetical system would actually be best in this case. All right. So we're on the left-hand page, and remember, one of the terms that we use in the professional world for this area inside the margins is called a live area. So this is where all of your content, all the stuff goes. So we're going to start where inside this, at the top left corner, where the magenta and the purple line meet, we're going to take our text frame. And this is why those 3 columns are important and how they're used for measurement. So what we're going to do is we're going to take something and we're going to draw a text frame. It's going to be 2 columns wide and 2 columns tall, or 2 rows tall columns. All right, so ignore the vertical line that's cutting through our margin area on the left-hand side. We're going to the corner of the margin. This is 2 columns wide and then 2 rows long. So just click, drag it across to the gutter space at the far right side of the second column, and then go down to the second horizontal guide so that we have 2 rows. Okay. I'm going to do that again for the recording. So start in the top left corner. I just happen to do that most of the time, putting it up in the left corner. So where the purple and magenta lines meet, we're going to click. It's going to go across 2 columns, and then we're going to drop it down to cover 2 rows. All right. If you're not sure exactly how it should look, you can real quick look at the video side. I've got mine. I backed out of the text frame so you can see the whole box. So that's how these columns and rows are used as measurements, specifically in this case, the columns. It really is like, hey, I need 2 column wide area. That's what it is. All right. Back up a bit. All right. And then this is where are we doing the? I think this one actually does it where they're mirror images. Okay. So once you got that set, that you should have a text frame there. We're going to go to the right-hand page. We're going to do the exact same thing, but it's going to be on the far right-hand side of the page. So they really are making these mirror images. So we're going to take our type tool. We're going to go to there we go, the top right corner of the margins, top right corner. And then we're going to do the same thing, 2 columns wide, 2 rows tall. Now, of course, we don't see anything there. We haven't put any text in there. We're just putting some boxes. And then once we get a little bit further in the lesson, it's not too far from now, we'll actually go through and start putting some information in there. So you should have a text frame on the furthest left side of the left page, and then one on the furthest right side of the right page. We're not worried about the lower half right now. That's our text frames. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put in a couple of frames, and these are going to be squares, but we're going to put in a couple of frames, and these are meant for graphics. So when we look at our toolbar on the left-hand side, and we see the pen and the pencil tool, we go down, and there's 2 tools that look like squares. As I would always tell my middle schoolers, squares are just rectangles with equal sides. So there's one that has an X in the middle, and then there's one that's just a regular square that's blank and empty. The one with an X in the middle is a frame. So I generically call it a graphic frame because it's an indicator that this is where a graphic goes. The other one actually just draws a shape. It's not supposed to have anything in there. The secret is it can actually still be a frame. But if you're setting something up like this, it's best to use the frame tool, which is the one that has the X in it. Okay. So that one, again, move your mouse over for names. The rectangle frame tool. All right, so we're just going to click that one. On the left page, we're going to go to the top right corner of the margin. This is 1 column wide, 1 row wide, tall. So this is just that one square in the top right corner, I believe. Let me triple check. I lied. This is supposed to go two rows down. So 1 column wide and 2 rows tall. I'm just making sure. And of course, if you've been closely paying attention, you figured out we're going to do that on the right-hand side. It's pretty much a duplicate. So on the left page, going from left to right, we have a 2 column wide text frame that's 2 rows tall. And then right next to it in that 3rd column is a graphic frame that is 1 column wide and 2 rows tall. You'll notice the X in there. That's why this is useful for graphic frames. It basically tells me when I see it, oh, there's supposed to be a graphic in this box. That's how I use them. If we look at the right-hand page, we're doing the same thing. They're just on opposite sides. So for the right-hand page, going from left to right, you have a 1 column wide, 2 row tall graphic frame. So it's the one that's got the X in it. And then next to that's going to be a text frame that's 2 columns wide, 2 rows tall. Okay. If that didn't work for you, let me know. And I can, now that I'm able to hear everybody, I can help you out. So they're setting this up as placeholders. Again, we don't normally do this, but they're doing it for part of the lesson to show you how to release these kind of things later. All right. And these are on all of our pages. If you actually look at the pages panel right now and look at pages 1 through 8, you don't have to double click them. You just have to look at those little thumbnail icons. You'll actually start to see these outlines there. So it's kind of cool how you just did a couple of minutes of stuff and it's all over these pages. The next thing we're going to look at is creating additional parent pages. Like I mentioned, this is something that actually can happen. I've run across it myself. It just may or may not be something that you run across. So who knows? It depends on your application and what you need. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an additional parent page. We're going to end up with 2 of them. We're still in the parent page section. So A3 column layout is highlighted. We're going to go to that panel menu in the top right-hand corner. So it's the spot that's got the 4 horizontal lines. Remember, that's a panel menu. When we open this up, you're going to see the third option says duplicate parent spread. We're not doing that. Okay. We're going to create a different parent, but we're going to bring everything with us. So don't worry, we're not going to reinvent the wheel. If we go down, the next lit up option is print parent pages. We don't have to do that. But the next option below is new parent. So we're going to create a new parent. Okay. So this is going to pop up a panel. This is basically just like the panel we looked at a while ago when we renamed the parent page. It's just got a few other options there at the bottom in terms of the size and orientation. Since we have the first parent page, we're using the alphabetical order. So there's A, this is the second one, so we're using B. For the name, we're actually going to call this one a 2-column layout. So go ahead and call this 2-column layout. Remember, do not hit the enter key. If you hit the enter key, it's going to close this frame and create your duplicate or create your new parent. Don't do that. Just hit tab if you need. For the based on parent, so with the A parent, there was nothing else to base it on except for none. So that's why none was chosen. For this one, we do have another parent page. It's the A3 parent, the A3 column layout. So we're going to choose that. I don't want to have to do all this stuff all over again. So to make it easier on ourselves, we're going to pull all the guides, we're going to pull the page numbers and everything, and we're going to pull all these frames that we just put in there as placeholders. Those are going to be duplicated over. Okay. For the number of pages, because our document is 2-page facing pages, we're going to leave this exactly the way it is. Same thing with the size and the orientation. We're literally just duplicating so that we can apply this to different pages. All right, so it's a B 2-column layout. We're going to base it on the parent A 3-column layout. Everything else stays the same. Okay, not a problem, man. I see you. There you go. All right, go ahead and hit OK. And so now on the top part where we've been working in, you'll see an A3 column layout. And below it, you're actually going to see a B column layout. Okay. Now, when we're looking at this, you'll notice that in our document, we have A in the left or right corner of the pages, and we have the same thing in this 2-column layout, B parent. That is because we did the based on. So that letter indicates which parent it's based on. We're in the 2-column, the parent B, and you can even see the placeholders, but you can't select them. So this is something about the parent-child relationship in InDesign that you got to be aware of. If you put something in the parent and you go to the child, you can't select that. Okay, it'll actually be kind of locked up there. But what we also need to do, if you are looking at the page number marker, we're on the B parent, and you'll notice that that A for the page marker has turned to a B, indicating that we're in the B parent. Okay. I'm trying to see because it looks like they reorganized. Oh, thank gosh, they got this done quickly. All right, last edition, this part of the lesson was a little jumbled. It was like out of order. So this is called 2-column layout. So let's go ahead and make it 2 columns instead of 3. Last weekend, we actually inadvertently went across this spot, but it's good. We get to look at it again. Our document is already set up with 3 columns. That's the inside the live area. So we just have to change that value from 3 to 2. It's actually really simple to do. Just go to the layout menu at the top. And then the second option is margins and columns. Go to the layout menu at the top and choose margins and columns. Just so you all know, those menus that don't show up on your screen for the Zoom meeting, that's been going on like ever since we started using this. So that's why I tell you, like, I count usually and tell you how far away it is. But if there's like a sub menu in there, it'll show up on the screen. So we go to layout and then we choose the second option. Okay, margins and columns. So if you create a document and you're like, oh crap, it's got columns in it and I only need one column, you can just go in here and make that change. You don't have to start all over. We're going to leave the margins alone. All of that is set up correctly. But where it says columns, we're just going to change that value from 3 to 2. All right, just go ahead and hit OK once you have that done. Literally just changing the columns from 3 to 2. Dun, 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 dun. So now we have 2 different layouts. We have one that's measuring with 3 columns and one that's measuring with 2 columns. All right. Okay, I'm looking at something. Oh, cool. They changed it. Let's do that. All right, we're gonna, yeah, let's just do it in order. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a look at, oh, like how to change the margins. Yeah, no big deal. Let me back up. All right, so we're in the B2 column layout in the parent. Okay, so the thing is this is supposed to be a 2 column setup. It's currently a 3 column setup. So you don't have to have anything selected. We're just working inside that parent section. We're going to go to the layout menu at the top, layout menu at the top. And then the second option is called margins and columns. So the layout menu at the top and choose margins and columns. That should open up a panel. Does that panel open up for you, Jerry?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So you have the margins at the top of this panel. Don't worry about it. Those are all set the way we need. It's the next one down where it says columns. We're just going to change that number from 3 to 2 and hit OK. And bada boom, bada bing. The next thing they want us to look at is how to release things from a parent. So like I mentioned, you can't actually select these because they technically are sitting in a parent. That's the 3 column layout. And it's the same thing. If you go down and don't do this right now, but if you jump into your document pages and you try to select the page numbers and stuff, you can't. They're actually sitting in one of the parent pages. So this is a step on how to release a frame, in this case, from a parent or from the control of a parent, even though they're both parents. That's why I got to be careful about that. So what you can do is you're going to hold down Control Shift on a Windows machine or Command Shift on a Mac. Again, the secret between the two is Command and Control are the same thing. You know, Control on a Windows, Command on Macs. Hold down Control Shift or Command Shift. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to click that text frame on the left-hand page. So as soon as you click it, boom, it's going to be the lit up blue square. You've got the squares in the corners. You've got the pound sign on the top left. This has been released from the parent. We can now edit it. You can change the size. You can change position if you want. We don't need to. But we're able to actually manipulate it now. If you want, you can actually release all 4 of the frames. So there's the text frame, going from left to right. There's the text frame, the graphic frame, the graphic frame, the text frame. So that's how you can release something from the parent. It also works on your document pages, but when we get down there, they're going to show you another way to do it, okay? And it's not important that you release all of them in this, this parent 2 column set of pages. This is no big deal. But what we do want to do now is I want to show you guys really like straight up how the parent-child works, because A is the parent, and in this case, B is the child in terms of this relationship. So let's go ahead and jump back to the 3 column layout. We're going to double click on A-3 column layout. You're going to double click on A-3 column layout. So this will take us back up to our original parent page. I need you to move your document so that you can see the the top left corner of the bleed lines. I'm going to give you guys a shortcut. instead of having to click the hand tool in the toolbar to move around, we actually just hold the space bar and a little hand applies. Please don't high five your screen, but it allows you to click and drag around, and this allows you to navigate around a page. It's really just for that. The only time this doesn't really work is if you're typing or using the type tool, because the space bar is a space. So it's the only tool it does not work with. But this allows you to move the page around. We're going to look at the top left corner where the bleed meets. That is the red lines on the outside of your document, okay? We're going to bring in or place, because we're fancy in InDesign, we're going to place what's called a snippet. Now, I just got to preface this with, please don't ask me about snippets yet. At the end of the lesson, I'll talk to you about them. It's something that if you're very, very interested in, highly recommend you give it a try on your own time. I've never used this in real life. I could possibly see where it might have some application. I don't necessarily know that it's super beneficial, but I'm sure somewhere, somehow, for someone that it is. So I don't really go too in depth about snippets, but for them to work, we got to see the very absolute top left corner of what we're working on. Since we have bleeds, we got to look at that corner. We're going to go to File, go to the File menu at the top, go to Place. Remember, the menus also will show you shortcuts on the right side of the menu. But we're going to go to File and Place. We're going to navigate to our Lesson 3 folder. So wherever you have that saved. Inside the Lesson 3 folder, there is a folder called Links. We're going to click in there. You're going to see a bunch of images, a couple of InDesign looking files that say IDMS. And then we also have a couple of text files, Article 1 and 2. The first one, it's the IDMS. That's an InDesign media snippet or markup snippet. It's called header-snippet. That's what we're going to choose. The snippet 2, that's at the end of the lesson. So inside the Lesson 3 folder, in the links folder, you're going to select the header snippet.idms. Now, this one, it's actually a big deal if you accidentally click, because it'll throw everything onto your screen and it becomes a mess sometimes. So just select it and hit open. Like I said, that becomes a really good general practice. What you get, again, when we place something is you get a little sample or a thumbnail of what you're putting in there. That's actually what we see, except this goes across 2 pages. Okay, this is pretty crazy. Snippets are neat. I just don't know how practical they are for most applications. All right, we're going to take our cursor. We're going to go to the very, very corner of where the bleed meets in the top left corner. Okay, and then just click. That's all you got to do. Oh, it's over our page numbers. That's lame. I can fix that though. All right. But we're going to take our cursor again. I'm just doing this for the video mostly. So we're going to take our cursor and we're going to go up to the very top left corner of the bleed, and we're going to click. And you're just going to click. And so what this does is it spreads everything out and places everything there. What we're going to do is we're going to scooch this down. So just with the black arrow, the selection tool, we're just going to click and you're going to drag this straight down to the top of the margins. Hold the shift. Oh, wow. Look at that. It's on top of our page numbers. Oh, well. I'm not going to cry about it. Okay. So that's how snippets work. Again, we're going to do one more snippet, and then at the end of the lesson, I'll talk to you guys a little bit about it, just in case it's something that you're like, hey, I could totally use this. So we've placed this snippet into our document for the 3-column parent page, for the A parent. So now let's go down and look at the B parent. So just double click on the name B2 column, and you'll see that that placeholder text and those blue rectangles, those are there. So this is an example of how that parent-child relationship works. Whatever you do to the parent shows up on the child. Whatever you do in the child does not show up in the parent. So if we add something to the B2 column, it's not going to show up in the A3 column. but the other way around does happen, okay? And then this also goes to our document. Whatever you do in the parent page, if it's applied to a page in your document, it's going to show up, okay? But it does not go backwards. Read that. Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, they actually do this. Okay, cool. So with the stuff that we just placed in there, they actually want us to do what's called arrange. So selecting, let me put this down here. We're going to select the text frames that say placeholder text. Hold down the shift key, allows you to select multiple objects. And then you're also going to select the two blue rectangles. Just make sure you have everything selected except for, except for the page numbers and where it says garden news. They actually never showed this before. It's something that if you've used Illustrator, it's there too. And I think it's important that, I think it's great that they included it in this lesson. So what we're going to do is called an arrange. It's kind of like layers. Whatever is the top of the layers menu is on top of everything else, and what's at the bottom is behind everything else. So with objects, we're able to arrange what's behind or in front of other things. So we're going to go with these 4 objects selected. All right, we're going to go to the object menu at the top. Go to the object menu. The third option down is arrange. And you'll see there's bring to front and bring forward. These are grayed out right now because this is the last thing that we have placed in our document, the most recent. So that's immediately on top of everything. So think about like if you're making a pizza, you know, the crust is in the background and then you start adding sauce and then you add cheese. So every time you add something new, it's on top of everything else. But you'll see that send backward and send to back. These are lit up. So we're able to push this behind other things. They want us to choose the last option, which is send to back. And we're going to choose that. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to put our placeholder text and our blue boxes so that they're behind everything. We probably should scoot this back up to the top of our document. Yeah, it looks a little better that way. So we got that stuff there. All right. They've never done the arrange on this lesson before, so that's kind of a thing, but it's something that it's always been available inside InDesign. And again, if you've ever used Illustrator and you've had to rearrange like what's on top of what, this is the exact same principle, okay? All right, got that set. Applying parent. Oh yes, applying parent pages to the document. Here we go. This is fun. All right, so we're actually going to start to look at how we can apply these to different documents. All right, I'm going to type in something real quick. All right, so we are going to, now there's 2 ways you can do this. If you just want to do individual pages, we can actually click and drag. It really just applies to 1 page at a time. And then, so we'll do that. And then I'm going to show you how to apply it to multiple pages at a time. What we're going to do is, oh, that's not it. Hang on. I'm typing stuff in the chat to make it easy on you guys. Here we go. All right. So we're going to apply the B2 column to page 2. Now, it doesn't matter which one of the B2 column parent pages you grab. It really doesn't matter. InDesign knows that if you apply it to the left-hand page, it's going to make it look like the left-hand side of the 2-column layout, and vice versa for the right-hand page. So it doesn't matter. But what we're going to do is we're going to click. So in the parent section of the pages panel, you're literally where those 2 pages are. We're going to click. We're going to drag one over page 2. It's going to light up a black outline around the whole page. That's how you know you have it in the right place. And then you're just going to release. Okay. I'm going to do that again for the video. So where it says B2 column layout, just go to the far right hand side of the pages panel there. We're going to just grab any of them. Just click and drag it over to page 2. and then release as soon as you get it over it. And it's got that black box around the page. Okay. You'll notice that on page 2 in the upper left-hand corner, it changes from A to B. That is the indicator of which parent has been applied to page 2. Okay. So that's how you do it, like one page at a time. But a lot of times we have to apply style to a whole section, maybe a whole chapter of pages. So we want to make sure that we can do it real quickly. So for this one, we have to go to the Pages panel. So if you go to your Pages panel menu in the top right corner, so Pages panel menu, it's the 4 lines. You are going to see it's almost exactly midway down. It is Apply Parent to Pages. Okay. So we're going to choose Apply Parent to Pages. Okay. So for this one, we're going to continue to do the B2 column layout. This is so that you guys can see what pages have this layout applied to them. Okay. In the chat, I typed in exactly what I'm putting in the box right now. We're going to do 3-5. That means pages 3 through 5. Okay. I put a comma and then the number 7. By habit, I put a space there, but the space doesn't matter. It can literally be comma 7. It works. But I put the comma there because it's going to skip page 6. So what it's doing is it's going to apply this parent to pages 3, 4, 5, and 7. So if you have to do some weird pages and not all of them are going to have the same parent applied to them, use the comma to separate the specific pages that you're going to hit. But if you're doing a whole bunch of pages in a row, as we all probably already know, you just put one page, put a dash to mean through, and then put the last page that it applies to. So again, this is going to go through pages 3 through 5, so 3, 4, 5, skip page 6, and apply to page 7. So go ahead and hit OK. So now we did page 2 as a singular piece by itself. So that's a B parent. And then 3, 4, 5 are set to B parents. 6 is an A parent, and 7 is a B parent. Okay. So, and the reason that I share the comma thing is because it's actually not as common as I thought it is, but this is applicable in a lot of other applications as well. And then I have actually had to use it before, so I wanted to make sure that everybody understood how that works. Because they do not tell you about that inside our document or inside of our lesson. All right. The next thing we're going to do is, sorry, I had a brain fart for a second. Remember, y'all, if you have questions or you need help, don't hesitate to interrupt me, okay? I'd rather stop and help you out. We're going to insert some pages into our document. Now, I know that there's a little plus button in the bottom of the Pages panel to the bottom right. Honestly, I've never used it. I find those to be a little more tedious, especially when I'm trying to do specific things or add multiple pages and I want them in a specific place. So we're going to look at adding multiple pages at one time, because 9 times out of 10, you have to add more than just one page. It's probably not that many. It's probably like 7 out of 10 times. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Pages panel menu. So go back up to that Pages panel menu. And then the very first option in the menu is Insert Pages. So inside the Pages panel, we're going to go to the 4 horizontal lines for the Pages panel menu, and we're going to go to Insert Pages. All right. I really like this feature. They allow you a lot of control on how many pages, where they go, which parents applied to it. It's really great. So just follow me along because I have a specific parent that we're going to use so that we know which pages are not are the brand new ones that they're not going to have a parent applied. So for the number of pages, we're going to go ahead and add 6 pages. Remember, don't hit enter. Don't hit enter. But we're going to go ahead and add 6 pages to this. Where it says insert, right now it says after page. I just want you to drop it down and take a look. It's cool because you can add them after a specific page, before a specific page. at the very start of your document, or at the very end of your document. So I love that there's options being able to control where specifically this is going to go. We're going to leave it on after page. And the page we're going to choose, the page we're going to choose is going to be page 4. Don't hit enter. Just don't ever hit enter when you're doing these menus. So 6 pages that are going to be inserted after page 4. And for the parent, we're going to change that to none. We have pages that have the A parent. We have pages that have the B parent. I want to add none so that we know which ones we just added. Also, because when we go to figure out how to delete pages, those are the pages we're going to delete. Okay. All right. So 6 pages after page 4, they have no parent applied to them. Hit OK. And there you go. So pages 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, these all are completely blank. They just have that 3-column layout, right? And you'll probably notice that page 4 still has the B parent added to it. So it's got the page number. It's got that header with the placeholder text and garden news, but page 5 has nothing, okay? When it comes to rearranging, it's actually pretty simple. If you want to do it one page at a time, let's start with page 5. We're going to take page 5 and we're going to move it to the very bottom of our pages panel. In our pages panel, at the very, very bottom of that panel, you're going to notice a very thin panel-wide rectangle at the very, very, very bottom, like past where it says how many pages in the trash can icon. In the center of that little rectangle, there's what looks like a texture. So there's like some vertical lines, but it looks like texture. You can actually put your cursor there, get an up and down arrow, and that'll allow you to stretch out your documents panel. It does help if you have a lot of pages like this to be able to pull that out, okay? Moving pages around. So we're going to start with page 5. You just click once so that none of the other pages are selected. If you want, you can just double click page 5 in the document pages panel. If you double click it, it'll take you and zoom you out so you can see the whole page. Not a big deal. This is a click and drag. So we're going to click and drag page 5 down to page 14, but you got to move it towards the right side of page 14. So just click, drag it down. When you move it over there, there's going to be a vertical line where page 15 would be. And when you see that, just release. You'll know you've got this done correctly because page 14 will suddenly become a blank page. All right, I'm going to do it again for the video. So page 5 is selected. I'm just going to click and then I'm going to drag this down. What you look for is a vertical gray line that's thin. So I'm moving it after page 14. When I move it to the right-hand side of page 14, it's going to have that vertical line. Once I see that, I just release the mouse. All the pages shift up. Page 14 is now a blank page. And the cool thing is, as we're rearranging these pages, those page numbers for the bottom pages are going to immediately change based on where they are. So right now, there are pages 10, 11, 12, 13. But as we start to move these things around, the page numbers on those pages will change based on where they are inside of our document. Now, you can choose multiple pages at one time as well. If you hold down the control key for this, you can select individual pages. If you click on what is now page 5, hold shift and click on page 9, that'll select everything between those 2 pages as well as those 2 pages. If you've ever had to choose multiple files in a window panel or a Finder window, then you know what I mean when I say you're going to click on one, hold shift and click on another down the line. It's going to select everything in between. But it does help for you to know that the control button or command on the Mac will allow you to select individual pages. We're going to basically repeat the same step that we just did with to move page 5 to page 14. We're going to move all 6 of these 5 pages. Math was not my strong suit. We're going to move these 5 pages down after page 14, okay? So we're just going to scooch this down. Same thing. We're looking for that vertical gray thin line. And as soon as we see it, we're just going to release. This moves pages 10, 11, 12, 13, so that they are now 5, 6, 7, 8. And then pages 9 through 14 are now blank. If that did not work for you, let me know. But that's the way that you just rearrange pages. Okay, pretty simple. I'll give you guys a second just to complete that. All right. So now we're going to take a look at deleting pages. So let's start with page 14. I'm going to actually jump down to page 14. So I'm going to double click it. So it's selected. Now hit the delete key on your keyboard. Keep hitting it. I promise you at some point, it's actually not going to delete the page. So when I worked at the book publisher, when I was interviewing, I watched who was about to be my supervisor because I was going to get hired, do the same thing. And she kept hitting the delete key. And so I kind of leaned forward and just said, hey, it doesn't work that way. You have to move it to the trash or click the trash can. She was like, oh. And so it was real funny because I had to show her how to use something. So hitting the delete key inside here is not going to delete one of the pages, which is actually a really good safety protocol if you're a cautious move on their part. So, but what we are going to do is to delete the page. You can click and drag, or you can just hit the trash can icon in the lower right corner of the panel. It'll remove the page for you. Just like what we worked with selecting multiple pages, if you select pages 9 through 13, you can drag and drop to the trash can or hit the trash can, and it'll delete those pages for you as well. Just don't freak out, and you'll probably remember me telling you this now, but you can't hit the delete key. It doesn't work like that. Just keep hitting it. Just keep hitting it. It's not going to work, okay? But it's okay. It happens a lot. So I apologize, y'all. So when we go to File and Place and we're bringing that text, you're going to notice that little right angle by your cursor. That means there's nothing there if you're on the bottom of the page. But when we go to the text frame that's on the left-hand side in the top corner, there's the parentheses that are there right next to our cursor. And that indicates that there is a frame there that we can place this in. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So just click once. All right. So that puts in the text that's in there. Now, as a rule, there's a whole process I'm going to have you guys do, and it's on purpose because I'm about to, in a couple steps, show you why you have to do this. But just go to the edit panel, edit menu at the top, and make sure that deselect all is grayed out. If it's grayed out, that means that nothing is currently selected, okay? All right, and that's a good sign. So we're going to go to File and Place. We're going to place another bit of text. File and Place. We're going to choose Article 2. This one's going to go on the right-hand page. Go ahead and hit Open. So we're going to move it to the very far right side of the page where that text frame is. So just click once and go ahead and you'll see that it pops in there. Pretty easy. So what this is showing you is that when we place, and we're about to find out that graphics work too, but when we place text or graphics into a frame that is in the parent, then it'll actually release that frame for us. All right, so we're going to go back to edit and the menu, make sure deselect all is grayed out. I know it's supposed to be, so I know it is. Let's go to File and Place. The next one that we're going to grab is going to be the Graphic 1 Honeybee. Graphic 1 Honeybee. We're going to hit Open. So it's basically the first graphic you see. This is going on the left page, so it's going to go to the left in that graphic frame. This is why those frames are really important, to grab the ones with the X, because it helps us to see what's there. All right, so go ahead and click. Whoops. Go ahead over that frame and click to place that in the frame, okay? If it doesn't work, just undo and give it another try. Now, I want you to go to Edit, Deselect All, okay? I'm not going to choose Edit, Deselect All. This is on purpose. I've been doing this part for 13 years, and I'm not changing it. So, because I'm going to show you what happens if you don't select, all right? So you guys should deselect. We're going to do the same thing again because we're going to place the graphic for the right-hand page. So let's go to Edit, Place. I'm sorry, edit. Yeah, place. Edit, sorry, file in place. And then we're going to choose graphic 2 garden tools. So the second graphic, garden tools. Now for you, you should have it at your cursor. I do not. So it suddenly popped into the frame that we just put a graphic in. So the biggest thing about deselecting your frames or any of the objects you're working with is because this can happen where you accidentally put something in a frame. And even worse, if you're like 30 pages away from where it was. So just make sure you don't do that. Just deselect all. It becomes a side habit, and I encourage you to develop that habit. But since we do have it with our cursor, we're going to go ahead on the right-hand page, and we're going to put that into the graphic frame that is there. So you should have on the left page, it should say pollinators and predators. And then to the right of that, it has the picture of the bees on the flower. Then on the right page, it has a picture of garden tools. And then the text frame to the right of that says soil for the garden, okay? And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna put in one last snippet, okay? So make sure you can see that top left corner where the bleed meets, the top left corner, all right? We do need to make sure that nothing is selected. So go to edit, deselect all, okay? All right, let's go to file and place. We're gonna choose snippet 2. Don't worry, I'm gonna explain snippets here to you in just a bit. Choose snippet 2, hit open, and then go to the top left corner where the bleed meets, and then just click once, and this will place the rest of the graphics in there for you. Although, oh, I think that they actually changed this. Did they change the way it behaves? Yeah. And of course, they are like these should probably be moved down. I'm looking at the way. Oh yeah, this thing is. Oh well. This is why I'm not a big fan of snippets, but you have all your graphics in there, so we are able to release things from the parent pages and so on. Let me real quick check the lesson. That should be the end of it. Like that. You can see the complete spread. Oh, they put the page numbers at the bottom. That's stupid. All right, and so that's lesson 3. We talk about pages, organizing them. Here we are working with 8 pages and being able to create a lot of stuff that spreads across all of them by using parent pages. And then we're able to go into the individual pages and just insert that information that we need, okay? So if anybody has any questions, please ask. I'm happy to answer them for you. Let me know if you have any questions before we go on.